Arsenal versus Bayern Munich was not what a lot of people was expecting. There was controversy, there was goals, there was penalty shouts, and I want to hear everybody's opinion. I'm going to let you know mine, but let me know, do you think Bukayo Saka should have got a penalty in that game? What did you think of the referee? But also, let's be balanced, should Bayern Munich have had a penalty as well? Like I said, we're going to get into it, but first, let's just touch on the game because it was a crazy game. The talk going into this game was Arsenal should breeze past Bayern Munich. Look at their form in the Bundesliga. They've been losing to teams who have just been promoted. Bayern Munich are a mess. Thomas Tuchel is going to be sacked before the Arsenal game. These are all rumours and whispers that we've been hearing coming out. But the Champions League is different. These well-established teams in the Champions League have a knack of just pulling out results from nowhere, it would seem. Arsenal were heavy favourites going into this game. Not many people gave Bayern Munich a chance. And looking back in hindsight, that's a mistake. You can never discount a team like Bayern Munich. We got into the game and it was good from Arsenal early on. We seemed okay. We seemed not shaky, but I don't know, something wasn't quite right early on. And then you get the Saka goal. And then it's pandemonium. Saka scores 12 minutes. You're thinking, yes, this is the start of it. Something special could be happening at the Emirates. And then the Ben White chance comes up and you're thinking, yes, this is going to be 2-0. Ben White misses the chance. Listen, Ben White should have done better. Ben White is a defender and he rarely finds himself in those opportunities. But in the Champions League, you have to take those kind of chances. Ultimately, I'm not going to end up blaming Ben White for the fact that we drew, because in terms of our defence, I actually think Ben White was one of our best defenders on the pitch. I'm going to tell you why, but that chance was massive in this game because it was a chance we should have scored. We didn't, and then Bayern Munich get the goal. It was like a comedy of errors. Like I said, we seemed so shaky at the back, and I don't really understand why. You know, going into this game, if you would have asked me what I feel most comfortable about in this Arsenal team, I would have said to you the defence. I have the utmost confidence in Arsenal's defence, and whatever Bayern Munich can do, I'm okay. Because I know we're solid at the back. We saw Kiwior come in. I'm okay because Kiwior's had a few games where he's played okay. He come on against Liverpool, he had a good game, and then he's played a couple of games after that where he's put in some decent performances. Now, in hindsight, is that a mistake judging him off 3 or 4 games? Maybe. Because maybe we should have gone with tomiyasu. I said in my pre-match game, I probably would have gone for tomiyasu in this game. But I've got to be fair. I also said if I saw Kiwior in there, it wouldn't be the end of the world. I think Kiwior is capable. In this game, I think we learned maybe Kiwior isn't capable. Look, I'm not trying to slander the kid because we know we brought him in as a centre-back and he's probably not a left-back. He's played a few good games in that position. So now we're kind of seeing him as this left-back. He's not a left-back. And I think yesterday probably showed that. Zinchenko came on, and in my opinion, our performance increased. But let's talk about the Bayern goal. So, Kiwior gets skinned. Goretzka plays a cutting through ball just out of the reach of Declan Rice. Declan Rice couldn't get to it. And sort of, I don't know, Jorginho. What made me laugh is Jorginho was faster than Kiwior in that defensive track back. Have a look where Kiwior's running back. Jorginho starts behind him, and Jorginho actually overtakes Kiwior. He slides in, and I think where he slides and touches the ball, that just knocks it out of the way of Gabriel, who wasn't able to really judge it because that touch from Jorginho kind of changed the ball direction. It changed the path that the ball was travelling on. So that's Gabriel out of the game. And then William Saliba gets dragged over because he saw Gabriel struggling. William Saliba sort of comes over, and that leaves Gnabry a massive gap to run into. Ben White's trying his best. He's so close to getting there, but Gnabry just taps the ball in and it's 1-0. And at that point, you're thinking, no, but I'm still feeling confident. Look, the game plays out, and there were early signs that this back line wasn't as it should be. Saliba, I don't know what it is about the Champions League, but every time he plays in the Champions League, he just looks so nervous. The passing ability isn't there. The way he brings the ball down, it just isn't there. And I don't know what it is. Is it the occasion? We have to bear in mind a lot of these players haven't had this experience before. But I don't get it because they're so good in the Premier League. And when it comes to the Champions League, it almost seems like a different setup. The gaps that were being left in that defence is unlike anything I've seen all season. So it can't be a tactical thing because Mikel Arteta's not going to say, you know, don't do what you've been doing all season because it's been working. He's not going to change that defence in terms of setup. So why were there so many holes? You know, William Saliba, he was pushing forward in this game a lot more than he usually does. Now, was that him trying to make a statement to show himself in the Champions League and show what good player he is? I think all he had to do in this game is just keep on doing what he always keeps on doing. For me, that's what William Saliba had to do to prove that he is the player that all the Arsenal fans know that he is. But just something didn't seem quite right with that whole Arsenal back line. And then it's 1-1. And then Arsenal give away a stupid penalty. It should never have happened. It was like a catalogue of errors. So many mistakes happened in the build-up to that penalty. But the outcome of the penalty was always going to happen. Harry Kane was always going to score in this fixture, and it's just so frustrating because I don't like the way that Harry Kane played in this game. In terms of being a striker, he didn't have much success in terms of one-on-ones with Gabriel and Saliba, but he dropped so deep at times and he was dictating play with them long balls he was passing. His passing ability is brilliant, so frustrating. But Harry Kane's passing ability was brilliant in this game. In terms of a centre forward, I don't think he played that role very good. But he got that penalty and it was never in doubt. But what was David Raya doing? Go back and watch that penalty. By the time Harry Kane takes his second step, David Raya is already shuffling to the side of the goal that he's going to dive. And I don't get why. He's never done that before. Harry Kane just literally stutters and he's like, what's happening? David Raya's already on the floor laying down and he just passes it into an empty net. And then you're struggling. It's 2-1. You have to build yourselves back up to go and get that second goal. Arteta made some substitutions that was definitely needed. Look, like I said, I mentioned about the defence. The midfield in this game wasn't great. Declan Rice, I don't think, played terribly, but I think he was isolated at times. Jorginho was okay. I don't think he had his best game either. But, the attack, the left-hand side was struggling. I think we saw that. It was quite plain to see Martinelli couldn't get involved in the game. And I know it's because he's a hug-the-touchline winger. We need him for his pace. We need him for his outlet. We need him for his ability to beat a man. But when he's out there on his own, he's isolated. And, when we saw Zinchenko come on in the second half, that improved. The left winger was brought into the game way more because that's what Zinchenko offers you. Zinchenko comes on, he overloads the midfield and he occupies that left-hand side of midfield, and that allows you to bring the left winger into play way more. When Trossard and Gabriel Jesus come on, that was even more evident. Zinchenko, Rice, they was all involved on that left-hand side, and that's where the Arsenal goal came from. It was brilliant. The finish from Trossard was incredible. The little setup from Gabriel Jesus was immense. People have been slating Gabriel Jesus all week, saying he doesn't have the ability, saying he doesn't have the final product. But this is what you get with that type of player in Gabriel Jesus. We've seen him in recent games and people say he's held onto the ball for too long. But then he does it in a game where it pays off and everyone's loving him again, saying, this is what you get with Gabriel Jesus. He's not always 100% efficient. He doesn't always pay off every single time. But I've said after the last game, I still like Gabriel Jesus. I like his determination. I like his hunger. And for this reason alone, you see why Gabriel Jesus can be effective in moments. Now, I don't think Gabriel Jesus is good enough to be a starter for Arsenal. But as a bench option, as a super sub, as coming on and trying to change the trajectory of a football match, he definitely has that ability. Not only that, Gabriel Jesus is immense in the Champions League. He's one of Arsenal's top scorers. So Gabriel Jesus was brilliant in this game. Like I said, I wouldn't even start him in the next game in the Champions League. But I just think he's such a good option to bring on. Look, and then the game kind of dies out. Of course, you get the Saka chance at the end. And this is where I want to hear people's opinions. Do you think that Saka chance was a penalty? My opinion is, look, it's a penalty if Saka doesn't go looking for it as much as he did. Now, I understand Saka running at full pelt is going to have the momentum that takes him in that direction. But I just think the way he left his leg out, it makes it very difficult for the referee to give the penalty. If I think Saka tried to, well, he did cut it back, but if he just tried to carry his run on that direction and then Neuer wiped him out, then it's a clean-cut penalty. There's nothing to worry about. But from all the angles I've seen, I've gone back and watched it last night. I've watched it loads today. I've heard everyone's opinions on it. And for me, it seems like Saka could have done more in that moment. Now, I'm not blaming Saka. Is it inexperience? Maybe. Look, Saka's still one of Arsenal's best players. The finish he done for the first goal, it was exceptional. But Saka in that moment just made the wrong decision in my eyes. Like I said, he could have carried on the movement and had a shot on goal. I think the shot was there to take. Like I said, I'm not going to criticise Saka too much because he's been brilliant for Arsenal this season. But if you want to know if I thought that was a penalty, then I would say it would have been a penalty, but Saka's made it difficult for the referee to give. But let's not forget, look, we're going to be balanced on this channel. Should Bayern Munich have had a penalty? There's a very, very good argument. And if you're going by the rule book, then yes, Bayern Munich should have had a penalty. Raya, Gabriel, they're going to take the goal kick. The referee clearly blows the whistle. Raya passes the ball to Gabriel, who should have ran with it, but he picks it up and places it to take the goal kick again. Now, I know Gabriel does that routine all the time. He takes the goal kick from that side so often. So is it a mix-up? Yes. The referee even come out after and supposedly said, I'm not going to give a penalty for that, even though he sort of should have. In the rulebooks, it would have been that, but he's not going to decide the quarter-final of a Champions League on like a kid's mistake. So I think Arsenal did get lucky with that decision. Let me know your thoughts on it. Look, my conclusion in the game is just frustration. You're going into the game as favourites. There's a lot of expectation around this. This is going to be the season, or this is going to be the year that Arsenal finally overturn Bayern Munich. Now, I don't want to turn it into a revenge thing, but there's a lot riding on this. There's a lot of motion around this game, and this was Arsenal's chance to beat Bayern Munich. The last 3 times we've played them, they've beat us 5-1. It was embarrassing. They knocked us out 10-2 on aggregate. That's as embarrassing as you can get in the Champions League, and I just thought this time it would be different. Arsenal have the ability to beat this Bayern Munich team. Look, on form, like I said, they're not the best team in the world, but obviously in the Champions League, that doesn't always matter. Sometimes it's not always the best informed team that wins. We saw that with Porto. Porto were 3rd in the Portuguese league when we played them, and that went to penalties. I just think there's an inexperience in these Champions League games that these Arsenal players need to get to grips with as soon as possible. Are Arsenal capable of going to the Allianz and winning? Of course. Just look at the team. Arsenal have some fantastic players. You know, in my opinion, we got a better team than Bayern Munich. Certainly a way better defence than Bayern Munich. Eric Dyer in defence, and we're not exposing him. You know, he was a terrible defender at Tottenham, and since he's gone to Bayern Munich, he's only got older. You know, I was looking at that back line before the game and thinking, Arsenal really have a chance here. This defence isn't that good. Arsenal players are going to be able to get out of him. Saka, like I said, Saka was good for the goal, but could he have offered more during the game? Probably. Martinelli, of course. Like I said, he was isolated, but could he have done more? Yeah. There's a lot of people going at Havertz on this game. I actually think Havertz was one of our better performers. Odegaard was incredible. A real captain's performance from Odegaard. If I had to pick the man of the match, it probably was Odegaard. But I don't think Havertz was too far behind Odegaard. Havertz was involved in absolutely everything. He was involved in the Saka goal. He laid it off to Ben White, who then found Saka and he whips it in. He was involved in the Ben White chance. He laid Ben White through. Havertz was all over the pitch. There was that one action in particular towards the end of the game where Kingsley Coman was through. He was bursting down the right-hand side and Havertz tracked him the whole way. Kingsley Coman's fairly quick, I thought. Havertz was rapid. He's a massive guy and he got back so quick. The work rate of Havertz has impressed me this season. The amount of work he's willing to put in, that's what you need in this Arsenal team. And we've always had it with Jesus. But I've kind of always seen Havertz as a guy who's technical, but doesn't really have the same work rate as Jesus. But at the minute, Havertz is showing that he's every bit as capable of pressing, doing that high press. And in terms of pressing, like I said, no one was as good as Odegaard. He was all over the pitch. I'd like to see the amount of miles that Odegaard run because he was literally everywhere. Like I said, I think the midfield struggled in this game. In my pre-match thing, I said I would have played Tomiyasu and Partey. Partey did come on. He made a couple of stray passes, but he also made a good pass through for the Saka goal, I think it was. So I think Partey away at the Allianz Arena can be an interesting option for Arsenal. I think we need to make that midfield more solid. I think we need to get Declan Rice more involved. When he was in that 8, he did seem isolated to me. If we can get Declan Rice, Thomas Partey, Tomiyasu in that team, I do think we can go to the Allianz Arena and win. And that leaves you with a question. What do you do in that left wing position? Because if you've asked me all season, if Gabriel Martinelli's available, you have to play him. But there becomes a point in time where you have to just look at it and say Trossard keeps coming on and scoring. Now, I do think Trossard is a better bench option, but the amount he's scoring, he's our second top scorer. Look at the amount of goals Trossard scored. In terms of minute per goal, he's the best in the whole squad. He doesn't get that many chances, but when he comes on, he is fantastic. His finishing is unlike anyone else's at the club. His finishing ability is incredible. So for me, I play Trossard in the next game. It'd be interesting to hear what you guys think, but I think we have to play Trossard. I think we go Tomiyasu, Partey and Trossard. Those are the 3 changes that I make going into that Allianz Arena, and that is going to be a mosh pit. Like I said, Bayern Munich had no fans in the stadium for this game. A lot of people are saying this was Arsenal's biggest chance. Arsenal can't win away in Munich. I don't agree with that. I think Arsenal are more than capable of going to Munich and getting a win. Arsenal have been devoid of any European significance in years. This could really be that night. If Arsenal go to Bayern Munich and progress to the semi-finals of the Champions League after beating Munich in their own stadium, could you imagine? That's something Arsenal fans really have to fall back on. When people say, what kind of European nights do you remember as an Arsenal fan? You can say, look, we have to go all the way back to the years of Thierry Henry at the Bernabeu against Inter Milan. We've had no recent European significance. But if we beat Bayern Munich away in Munich, that would be something for Arsenal fans to cling on to. I'm excited for the game, but we need to get our heads back in the game as soon as we can in the Premier League because we've got a tough game this weekend. We've got Aston Villa. Of course, I'm going to be doing a match breakdown. I'm going to be doing all the run-up in the lead-up to that Aston Villa game, so make sure you're subscribed. Like I said, I want to hear people's thoughts and opinions. We need to get back on track as soon as possible because that game at Villa is not going to be easy. Villa are a good team. They're a well-managed team. I think it's possible for Arsenal to beat them. Of course, I'm going to predict us to beat them quite handily. I think Aston Villa are going to catch us at the wrong time. These Arsenal players, need redemption as soon as possible, and I think Aston Villa are the perfect team for that. Let me know your thoughts and opinions on everything you've heard in this video, but the game in general. What did you think are the main talking points, like the Saka penalty, the Bayern Munich penalty, David Raya, the goals that we let in? What was your thoughts? Thanks so much to everyone for watching and listening. And before you go, if you could just do me the favour of giving me a thumbs up on this video, just like it, and subscribe, and I'll speak to you all in tomorrow's video. Gooners, have a good day.